This year we grew dozens of different pepper varieties again, and we've come to our favorites, and in this video we're going to share them with you.
Yeah, we have a couple of new favorites here today, as well as some varieties that we've grown before, so we're excited to share them with you.
So we're going to go through 5 of our favorites this year, along with a few honorable mentions, and we'll also be discussing a few that we probably won't be growing again.
So first up on our list of our favorite peppers is the Flaming Flare Fresno pepper from Johnny Seeds. And this plant was really healthy. It pumped out a lot of amazing looking and tasting pods for us. And we're definitely going to be growing this one again in the future.
Like many of the plants from Johnny Seeds, it was just really reliable. The peppers were very consistent in size and color. They stayed firm for a really long time on the plant as well. So that was nice. If you didn't get around to harvesting, the peppers were still nice and usable even a few days later.
Yeah, and we even had a couple of nights where the temps dropped down pretty low and the pods were just fine. They're continuing to ripen on the plant right now and we're still harvesting them. And the flavor is really, really good too. And they're really crunchy, just so much to love about them. Do you want to try one again or?
So usually the way we use these is in our Fresno Hot Sauce. I'll leave a link down below to that recipe. It's really good hot sauce, one of my favorites to make. But yeah, let's try it fresh. Why not?
Why not? Yeah, they're really, really flavorful and delicious.
It's a good stand-in if you want to grow something other than jalapenos. They have a little bit different shape, a little more heat as well, so it's a good step up if you're kind of tired of jalapenos. Next up is kind of a surprise. This is the Cayenne Red Flame. It's actually another variety from Johnny Seeds, another hybrid variety, and we've grown this in the past. We actually did a video where we compared a bunch of different Cayenne varieties together and tasted them all. And while this didn't land at number 1 for us, it was one of my favorites just because of how prolific the plant was, how big the peppers are and how consistent they are. And this year we planted it again and it just really impressed me. We had really bad beetle damage early in the season and it basically brought this plant down to nothing, and yet it came back. It does have an awkward shape to it, but it was very prolific. This is harvest number 4, I think, and this is just part of it. So tons and tons of peppers. We have plenty of cayenne powder for the winter, so I'm really happy with how this plant performed.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend growing some variety of cayenne pepper every single year in your pepper garden, whether it's the Cayennetta or this one, because they're so versatile and useful in the kitchen, and we just love making powder and cooking with them in various dishes. And this is one I definitely want to taste again just because we typically cook with them, so I don't have that raw flavor on hand to reference. It almost has like an appley flavor.
Yeah, it's got a tartness to it. This isn't typically how you would enjoy a cayenne pepper,
right,
but they're great dried, good amount of heat with them. It's really easy. I usually don't even remove the seeds to make the powder. It's just so simple. Cut them in half, dry them, and grind them up.
So next up on our list of favorite peppers for this season, you may have seen one of our more recent videos of the Bell Ghost Cross, and that is the Barbarous Antipodes pepper. And we were really impressed with the flavor of this pepper, also how beautiful the pods look, how versatile it is in the kitchen. It really impressed us. It's not too spicy. It is the perfect level of heat, and I think we're probably gonna add this to our regular pepper rotation in the garden. This is one of my favorite peppers. It's just
really just tastes like a tasty red bell with a little bit of heat.
The plant was also really strong. It didn't suffer much pest damage and a pretty good amount of pods for each plant as well. And I'm really looking forward to you guys growing this pepper and letting us know what you think and getting really excited about it too, because it's definitely a new one on our list. If you do want to learn more about this pepper, check out our designated video on it. We'll leave a link to that in the description below.
Next up is one we have grown in the past, and finally we got around to planting it again, the Ají Amarillo. This is a Peruvian variety from the Capsicum baccatum species, and it's known for having these huge, bright orange peppers that are thick. They almost look like jalapenos, but They're very, very different in aroma and flavor and use cases. It's really something quite unique, so if you haven't grown something in the capsicum baccatum, this might be a good place to start.
These peppers are also traditionally used for ají amarillo paste, which is really versatile in the kitchen when you're cooking. And if you've ever made Pebre, or you're interested in making Pebre, that's the cousin of pico de gallo. It's very similar, but it is traditionally made with ají peppers. So that's also a good way to use them up in the kitchen.
But in the garden, this thing was very impressive. Probably the biggest plant we grew this year. It was around 4.5 feet tall in one of our raised beds. The only drawback is that these peppers take a really long time to ripen up. As you can see, I just harvested these off the plant and they're only partially ripe, and we already have had some freezing nights, so without covering these, we might not have ended up with any ripe peppers. I also really like these long stems. They're super whimsical. It's like 3 inches long.
They kind of look like gummy candies too, the way they change color.
Beautiful bright orange.
Going in.
Really crunchy. Just so fruity, totally different.
Yeah.
Really good on its own.
They're really, really
They
good.
do make a good powder as well, but you probably won't want to use all of them to make powder. You get a ton. Before we get to our last favorite pepper, a couple of quick honorable mentions. This is the Goliath jalapeno. We've talked about it in the past. It's one of our very favorite jalapeno varieties, and it just grows these huge, beautiful peppers, tons of them on the plants. We grew them this year again, and we'll be growing them in the future too. And we also grew the Bolivian rainbow this year, which is a small ornamental variety. It was very pretty. The peppers themselves aren't all that useful. You can make them into a powder. It's basically a spicy chili, but it's mostly just fun to watch them go through all of their different color changes.
So that brings us to our final pepper, and that would be the Cobanero. This is actually a pepper that we did grow last year as well, but it continues to be a favorite. It is so prolific and delicious. I love making powder with this pepper and using it in the kitchen. I'm also doing a propagation experiment with these peppers because I found that they propagate really well because they're such healthy, sturdy plants. These peppers do have an interesting history. They're a rare mine variety, and if you want to learn more about it, we do have an article on the website, and we got the seeds from Semillas La Palma.
One thing that really impresses me about the plant is it's just very sturdy, and it shoots off all sorts of branches right from the bottom. And we had some pretty strong storms this year, and it didn't even bat an eye.
Yeah, these plants are really great, and the pepper is so flavorful. I definitely think we'll be growing this probably at least one plant every year.
In terms of heat, this might be the hottest pepper that we've chosen here. I just realized we chose all hot peppers. It has a really strong bite to it. It's sort of a sharp heat in my experience, and I'm gonna try it again.
Yeah, this is definitely the hottest one.
Such a great
So
flavor
good.
though, but really hot,
Yeah.
and definitely best for a powder. You get all these little peppers,
Whew.
throw them in the dehydrator, wait until they're crispy, and then just grind them up, and it's a nice, really hot powder with tons of flavor.
It's so good. So
Really is.
flavorful. I am burning up though, so we're gonna have to cut this video.
Now for a couple of disappointments in the garden this year. It wouldn't be a Pepper Geek garden without a failed ricotta pepper, and once again we tried growing ricotta peppers and they just didn't produce early enough. I think it was just too hot in the midsummer. There were no flowers, no peppers until fall rolled around, and then tons of flowers, tons of pods, but none of them have ripened up, and we've already got a frost. The plant looks terrible, and once again I'm very disappointed. But that's really not the pepper's fault. To be fair, I really hope to get a successful ricotta plant in the future.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna keep trying with this one, and it really just speaks to their preferred climate that we have not had much success, because a lot of you guys have had a lot of success growing these in your climates. And our next disappointment of the garden this year was actually a pepper that we were really excited to grow. But unfortunately, the ají cristal pepper was a little bit of a disappointment for us in the garden this year. The flavor wasn't really that great or what we expected, and the plant was not as productive as we would have liked.
I will say the one saving grace was that the plant produced peppers earlier than the ají amarillo, so it is an earlier producing capsicum baccatum, but again, the flavor is far inferior to ají amarillo, so this would still be my top choice. So those are our favorite peppers of the year. What did you grow in the garden and enjoy? We'd love to get them on our list for next year's garden. Let us know in the comments below.
Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.